Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. A London derby ends in a draw. Another draw for the Arsenal. Believe that's number 13 this season. Who said momentum isn't important? And my mood just swung in the wrong direction. And squaddies, someone is about to get a yellow card. Let's rock and roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
I do have another thumbnail for the show, but I chose to start off with this one because I believe our praise should be as loud as our criticism. And I would like to start off the show by apologizing to Jakob Kiwior. I'm sorry for everything that I said. And we'll get to that with my guests, one of which was on time and the other was not. I wonder if the squaddies can guess who was here on time and who was late. These are Sophie's non-negotiables. Welcome back to Squad Central, James Johnstone and Mr. Albert JTV. All right, don't say anything. Just say hello and everything. I want to see if the squaddies know who was late. I want to see who they doubt and who they think was, who was tardy and who was on time. JJ, good to see you back here.
Thank you very much. Yes, pleasure to be here. Again, as always, wish it would be in better circumstances, but here we go. I'll take it as it comes, and we will deal with it much like you're going to deal with a certain individual who was late.
Look at this. Judases. Look at this, folks. Tammy, James, Lone Star, JJ.
I even went for the slash and was on time. So this is...
Mark said he thinks Albert was late. No, Anelli agenda. No, not here. Just guess who was late, Archangel, and then I'll get the show going because it's far more exciting to me than that game. I'll tell you, that's for sure. Albert, welcome back to Squad Central. Good to see you, bro.
Yeah, no, great to be back. Apologies for being late. I had a last minute top change, shall I say, to put on. So red and red.
Yellow card for Albert. He joins the greats, including Peter Drury, David Ornstein. We rescinded Paul Buckles last night because he said that Arsenal would win the Champions League, and also Henry Winter. So you're among some very esteemed guests, Mr. Albert. And Jamie says, I'm just going to say Albert to balance it out, which is very nice, coming to the defense of JJ. Sophie acting like Mike Dean again. Well, at least you showed up on time this time, Newman. Good to see you in the house. What good is 5 minutes for Ethan? We're going to get to all of that. So here's how the Highbury Squad's going to roll for the next couple of weeks. Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. I don't know if there are many Arsenal fans that really want to talk post-game. But I guess when it's a result like we just saw, perhaps, and when there's a team selection like we saw, perhaps. And leading up to PSG, we're going to be spotlighting an Arsenal player. And after we've dissected the game a little bit, stay with us because we are going to get into the adventures of Swashbuckling Saka, a legend in the making. And after Saka, we'll be profiling another player. So stay tuned at the end of the show to find out who that is. JJ, started off all great. And why don't we start here? Let's start off with some positives because if anyone deserved a goal, it is Kiwior. And what a goal it was. Great delivery from the captain and a smashing header. Lee Dixon was like, where's the goalkeeper there? Well, he couldn't get there, Lee. Shut up. It was a great header. And he deserves his flowers. He's been playing better than Saliba in the last 3 games. JJ, first team selection, and then we'll get into a little Kiwior as well.
Yeah, so team selection for me, obviously with the news that Ben White and Moreno weren't going to be there, I thought that was probably as best as you were going to get, barring one player who Sophie, I don't really want to jump the gun, and I really don't like digging people out. But I've got to say it as I see it. Raheem Sterling is arguably one of the worst players I've ever seen put an Arsenal shirt on in my near 30 years of supporting this club. You know, there is somewhere in Spain, Denis Suarez smiling, knowing that he's not the shittest Arsenal player anymore. Raheem Sterling, you might as well put 10 men out, because that's what you're getting with this guy.
Why did he start him over Waneri?
I have no idea.
Here was my justification, JJ, right? So Hertzie was posting and saying, I don't like this. Why isn't he playing Waneri? And I said, well, maybe Saka, his knock is a little worrying. He might not play today. And he's thinking ahead and thinking, wow, if we lose Saka and Waneri, we're absolutely screwed. So he played Sterling. But then when Saka came on, I was like, why aren't you starting Waneri over? Why aren't you starting the future over not even the past? Go on, JJ.
Yeah, I don't know if he's still obsessing in this, that he thinks that he can, redeem people and repurpose them or reborn them. I mean, Raheem Sterling, we got him in a panic, Sophie, and it was literally like, all you've got to do is be better than Eddie Nketiah and Reece Nelson were for Arsenal, and he can't even do that. He's that bad, he can't even do that. And I'm not even a Reece Nelson fan, but I'm like, Reece Nelson is better than you.
Oh, I agree with that.
He has been absolutely diabolical. And tonight, it just negated that whole right-hand side. When you've got Odegaard, the friendly ghost at the moment, that's not, he's too scared to shoot for whatever reason. It just completely negated that right-hand side. And that is primarily where we attack down. We don't go down the left. We primarily go down that right-hand side. And you just killed it with that lineup. I mean, the one time that Timber could get through, thank God that was when Trossard scored. That was the only time Timber could do something, because, he had to hang back because you've got the counter threat of Eze on that on that left-hand side for them. And Sterling doesn't track back. So, you got to put Timber, Timber's got to drop deeper. But yeah, just diabolical. But the Kiwior goal, that was your second part of your question.
Indeed.
Yeah, his countryman Lewandowski would be proud of that one. That's, he's arguably one of the best headers of the ball that I've seen in many a year. And that was superb from Kiwior. And fair play, there's been a lot of times this season where people have gone, oh, Saliba shaky today, Gabriel bailing him out. This guy, like you said, bailed him out the last 3 games. I think Kiwior today and in the 2 previous has been a much better player.
Yeah,
much better player.
I totally agree with you.
Off the ball, everything, every facet of his game has been better than Saliba the last 3.
Yeah, and by a country mile as well. By a country mile. Before we get to the yellow carded Albert, let's put up some responses to JJ's comments. Archangel says the ghost of Gus Caesar is laid to rest. Jamie says, JJ, it's okay. I've not been around 30 years, but I find him the worst player to put on an Arsenal shirt too. I mean, there was Kallstrom, Schillaci, Sonogo. I'm not sure.
Whoa, Sonogo's the greatest player in the history of the Emirates Cup. What are you talking about?
Simi says Sterling is a shadow of his former self. He is hopeless. Teng says legs are gone for Raheem. Sad to see. Tammy says she would have played Ethan instead of Sterling. Yama. Nelson is far better than Sterling. Nelson always did well. Jonathan says big embarrassing Premier League campaign. Didn't even make Liverpool work for it. And Lone Star says Sterling has just been a massive disappointment. Albert, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Soph. That villain. I always say this, man. I've been getting used to say this about Arsenal. Welcome back to Arsenal and the Premier League. UEFA Champions League, part to one side. Premier League, back to business as usual. 13 draws. I was crying to you, Sophie, when we'd had about 9 or 10 draws. About 8 or 9 draws. I said, the way things are going, we're going to get to double figures. We surpassed that ages ago. I mean, winning position, nine of those games, winning positions, man. This is why we talk about UEFA Champions League in the sense that there's no gimmies in football. They don't just give you the trophies and you turn up. But Sophie, let me tell you something, and James, if we do not go to Munich and pick up that trophy, there's going to be the biggest inquest I've seen since the end of time. I'm just giving people a little pre-warning, because we might be having these type of conversations in a few weeks' time. But our Premier League form has been. When you see games like that, this is nothing new. All you need to do, Sophie, with your podcast is just have different people, different heads, different people coming on, be saying the same thing. Like, we're ahead twice in that game today, and I tell you what. So if we could have been having a conversation with Palace scoring a last-minute winner. I mean, they got the first goal and actually woke the game up, to be honest with you. So I'm probably glad to go to the game. And then they bring on the sub sort of later. And Mateta's been brilliant for about 12, 18 months, by the way.
What
phenomenal.
Finish.
Oh, my God, man. Saliba, second mistake in recent games or recent weeks, man. Like, concentration's it. You have to be concentrated all the time, particularly in Europe, but all the time anyway. But they could have nicked it in the end. They absolutely could have. They actually could have nicked it in the end, 100%.
Okay, so let's get some comments up for Albert. Archangel says you are correct. They've put all the eggs in the UCL basket, says Jonathan. Mark says drawn too many games at home. Also says facts, Albert. Lone Star says, oh, grow up, Albert. Stop blaming Arteta. Start with the players like Bill Saliba. We'll let you get back to him on that in just a second. Amazon Andy, where's my parcel? Very frustrating evening, very little cutting edge, a couple of half chances converted well, and then give away goals. Saliba needs a slap. Play like that against PSG, they will kill him. And we've got another one up here. Patrick, welcome, Patrick, at ease. Berta will be busy this summer, no doubt about that. The most points Arsenal can get is 79. Pathetic. I said on the show, Squaddies, on Monday, and I said it last week as well. Thanks for all your comments, and make sure you hit that like button like our chief like officer says, is that we are like the character in Split, James McAvoy. I think he had 42 different personalities. Arsenal definitely have two personalities. My sister told me I need to start pronouncing my T's again. I said personalities. That's the Palmer's green girl right there for you. Yeah. Two personalities, Jekyll and Hyde. In the Premier League, we've been one persona, and in the Champions League, we've been a totally other persona. Your opportunity, Albert, to respond to Lone Star Londoner from Texas.
Yeah, I'm a bit confused by the comment, really. I must have said something that I said in another life.
I think it's the inquest, and he's maybe casting aspersions that inquest is going to be about Mikel Arteta. And if I correct, I'm not a fact checker and I don't have time to fact check right here, right now, but I don't think you said Mikel Arteta would be the subject of the inquest.
I definitely didn't say that. I said inquest. So that could be a number of different things. So when I saw the comment, I thought maybe it's April 1st because I was a bit confused what I said that was a bit different from anybody else. And you see me on the Highbury Squad quite a few times. So a bit more clarity because I have no idea what you're talking about. All
right. Well, if you can elaborate on that.
Please.
Okay, so let's get to a few more comments. David Raya, he was a little, I don't know, some people thought he had too much caffeine tonight. Harvey says, anyone who thinks Martinelli is better than Trossard needs to start watching netball. Listen, I played centre in netball, and let me tell you, that game could be fast, furious, and there's no backboard. You've got to be so accurate when scoring, even though a centre can't score in netball. Why not pick a guy's sport to compare it to there, Harvey? Why did you go for netball? Although I do believe boys play netball today too. Yellow card for dissing a guest. Look at Newman standing up for you, Albert. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable,
right there.
Yeah. Thank you. I trust me, I definitely remember what I said. So I'm a bit confused, but it is late.
Okay, we got fans and players will be up for PSG, but we've got a challenge on multiple fronts. Agree. Tammy says Saliba, Trossard, Raya to blame for the goal. Speak properly. You're a professional now. I know. In it, I am. Kiwior played okay. He was good last week against. I thought he was great. All right, let's get stuck into a little bit of the match. We score. We talked about Kiwior. We praised Kiwior. I think that in in essence, Mikel, other than Waneri, got his starting lineup correct. One of the players I wanted to point out was how Trossard's picked it up and picked it up at the right time. And I think one of the squaddies talked about it too, Albert. I'll stick with you on this one. Trossard, I thought, had a decent game. Wasn't brilliant, but he's, considering his form this season, he's hitting the high notes at the right time.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realise he's got double figures for goals this season. You would have thought so with some of the performances you see, but he's been slightly better. And like goals keep you in the forefront, and they kind of sometimes may even mask over your performances. But he scored some key goals, so I'll give him that. I think someone mentioned it and the comment on the Odegaard. Shall I leave that a little bit later? So to talk about Trossard.
Yeah, well, there's a comment about Trossard from Yama saying he loves Trossard. He's the most vital player in the squad. We have to keep him for another few years. Undoubtedly, he's an integral part. Wow, that's high praise.
Yeah, I mean, football moves very quickly, doesn't it? 1 minute you're the flavour of the month, the next minute you should be you're a bench player. So let's be honest, he's been more effective coming off the bench than when he started games. Yes, he made the very infamous celebration at Villa away this season, but he's had more than ample opportunity given to him starting games this season. And Arsenal fans, the question I pose to Arsenal fans is, has he been justified in starting games of his performances over the course of the season? And for me, the answer would be no. But I do think it's pretty 60-40, 50-50 split with the Arsenal fan base in terms of whether we move him on or he wants to go, shall I say more so.
Newcastle apparently are interested. Newcastle might be interested in Trossard, and market value, I think, right now for Trossard, I think he still has some market value. JJ, I'm going to move on to the captain, Odegaard, and rightly so. Jonathan Kay says the fan base is very split on Odegaard right now. Our chief like officer not very happy with Odegaard tonight. He does seem a little... We talked about it on the show. I can't remember who with. Maybe it was you and me, Albert, where I said he looked like he needed like a Big Mac and fries. He looks slight, he looks skinny. Not sure if the ankle's right, JJ, post injury and stuff like that. I thought he was decent today, but decent isn't good enough when you're supposed to be the heartbeat of the team along with Saka. What say you?
Yeah, no, I agree with everything. To me, I don't know if that ankle injury that he got, he hasn't fully recovered from. Obviously, it's been notified that he has gone vegan. Now, I'm not trying to dig the vegans out, but if you look at his definition, especially his legs from 2 seasons ago to now, like you said, yeah, there's definitely a massive, massive decline there. I've seen it for the last few weeks that he looks like he's scared of doing things that he used to do because he's fearful of getting whacked again, which leads me to think maybe that ankle isn't as healthy as what I believe. But I know that he's always showing and calling for the ball, but the touches that he takes, there's time. I mean, he had a great shot against Ipswich to come off the post. If he scored a goal there, you might have seen a completely different player tonight. But that confidence that he has, two seasons ago, a season ago, he's taking them shots in his stride and putting them into the net. But now he'll just look for the safest option, and that to me isn't what Martin Odegaard is. I've said it time and time again on various channels and places. To me, if this guy believes he can be and he wants to be, he can be the best player in this league. But
which undoubtedly last season we were saying he was the best player in the league. Really,
yeah. I mean, there were points. Yeah.
I mean, I know Rodri. It was he was second to Rodri. He was unbelievable last season. Let's get some of these Odegaard comments up. And let's see. We got Yama's love Trossard comment up. He also says we need an upgrade over Odegaard. He's just poor. He's slow, boorish, can't even score. Barely gets one good play all game. He's running around. We need Eze to replace him as a 10. Don't start Albert on Eze. Otherwise, we could be here all night. Lone Star's rebuttal to you, Albert. You said if you don't go to Munich and win UCL, they'll be the biggest inquest since end of time. That's just daft and juvenile. We will come back to that. Albert will have the first word after these next few comments here. Andy says, Trossard, nothing more than a squad player, needs moving on. Let's see. Amazon Andy defends Albert. Truth on the inquest, post-mortem on the Champions League. We must win it or I want blood. Oh, dear.
Sophie, can I just add? There's like
Yes.
100,000 million YouTube channels, right, that have a stronger opinion about me, about the manager, and where Arsenal might end up this season, depending on what happens in the next sort of 3 or 4 weeks. So, yeah, again, like I said, I'm a bit confused by the comment, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, fair. I think there will be an inquest. I don't think that's undeniable, Lone Star. I don't think you can get to this point in the season, and in a season where you've beaten Real Madrid, right? Bayern Munich are gone. Some of the biggest pedigree teams in this competition, right, are out. You've got a Barcelona team that's susceptible on the break. You've got a PSG team that plays sexy football but can be dominated going forward, like we saw with what Aston Villa did. Inter Milan are probably the most composed and all-round team of anyone left in the Champions League at the back and going forward. And I think a little bit, dare I say this, underrated going forward as well. So I think it's fair to say that if we fail, we've got to get to the final. You can't beat Real Madrid and then lose to PSG, whose pedigree in this competition over the last few years has been nothing short of shocking. So I hear what Albert is saying. Quabena wants...
just add to that as well, in terms of juvenile, I've seen a lot of channels on YouTube, trust me. I'm far from juvenile, man.
Yeah. No. And also Lone Star, not like you. Yellow card for Lone Star. Remember, we don't do name calling here. So you're in the book. Lone Star in the book. Thank you very much. Okay. Quabena says that anyone asking for an upgrade on Odegaard and not saying Pedri needs to cease and desist immediately. We're very harsh this evening. Got some very harsh opinions. Let's see. Odegaard was anonymous first half. Don't know what game others were watching. No energy, no drive. Jonathan says he wouldn't mind seeing Odegaard lose the ball, take some risks. I think he does. I think he's been losing the ball enough, Jonathan. We don't need that.
So Sophie, he lost the ball tonight. He lost the ball tonight. And then he was turning to the corner and doing what he normally does with his arms to gesticulate to get the fans going. And I was just like, get yourself going. Sort your own game out before you start asking for an extra 10% from the fans. Because I'm like, you're not in the right space, mate. I'm like, if you're thinking, we need more from the fans can't give you more than what they already have. I mean, to be fair, the ticket exchange, I think they normally shut it at 5. They were letting it still be open whilst the game was on because barely anybody wanted to go because sadly, they're games for game's sake. You know, when there's nothing really on them, people don't want to go. You know, they'll all want to be there next week for PSG. Don't get me wrong. Every man and his dog and his wife will want to be there for PSG. But Palace and these last 4 games that are in the Premier League, what are they? You know, what are they?
The thing is, though, we can't cry like we can't get tickets, and then you don't go to support. All I hear is when a fan has criticism, you got to support the team, and then there's these fans that think that they're the Lord and Mayor of Arsenal, fandom because they go home and away, and sometimes poo-poo the international fans who would love to go. Right? I just feel like we can't have our cake and eat it too. But I do agree with you that in a game like this, doing your arms up, I actually do not like this in sports. Call me a curmudgeon, call me old school, call me what you want. I don't like it where it's almost, are you insulting the crowd? Are you actually saying, do your job as a fan? There's something about it that has become a little bit like kids holding up the sign, give me your signed shirt. No, stop doing that. The player will come to you and organically give you the shirt if they want. Am I being a curmudgeon, guys?
No, you're spot on. I mean, especially at that time, I'm like, it's early in the first half. It's 1-1. It's like, come on, like if it's near the end and it's like nail bitey and everything, then yeah, maybe you want an extra 5 or 10% from somebody, but not at that time. Like seriously, like really, like I'm saying, focus on what you're doing. Stop trying to mitigate what is a poor performance from yourself and try and find something extra from the fans, because we'll back you. You know, we'll back you to the cows come home.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
we'll always
James.
back you.
Yeah, James. I've seen that so many times now. Obviously, being at the games with Odegaard doing that. I think I'm looking around thinking the crowd couldn't be more on the team side, man. When we're trying to get a goal or to win an important game. So yeah, it's yeah. I mean, there's a lot of Arsenal fans I know that they're not happy when he does that, but he's going to keep on doing it. While
It just looks kind of, bush league. And BX Gunner has a lot of comments to make about the defense and how Kiwior's fantastic outing was overshadowed by amateur mistakes, and those mistakes will cost us because PSG, they will be absolutely ruthless. Lone Star, we will review your yellow card at the end of the show like we do all yellow cards, and it's up to the squaddies whether or not they get rescinded. Archangel says Rice should be captain. What was your take, Albert, on Declan this evening and the midfield? We've been criticizing Odegaard, well, not we, but several other people. And you got Partey, who's going to miss that first game. I thought Partey was awful tonight. It went back to the old Thomas Partey being offered a contract, which tie it in together. You've got that midfield needs a reboot. I don't care what anyone says. Listen,
yeah, it does.
Don't get fooled too much, right? Because where have, in the Premier League, you got 13 draws. Everyone's lauding Thomas Partey this season. All right. Declan Rice wasn't great between really the start of the season and Christmas. He's picked it up since Christmas, probably been one of our best players. Thomas Partey probably been one of our best players overall. Where's the weak link in this midfield, Albert? Talk to me.
So, in regards to Thomas Partey, I think James probably similar view actually. Obviously, he's had a good season. He's managed to keep fit, which is unusual, unlike him. He's played a large proportion of the games this season. But I was asked the question: would I still keep him? At various different points, to be fair. So, and I said no, really, to sort of move on from him. But then, obviously, you are entitled to change your mind sometimes, and he has been really, really good this season. They're talking about a year, maybe another year or 2 years, whatever way you want to chop it up. Because if Jorginho's going to go, to let both of them go, then you've got to do some serious business in the summer window. Because obviously Zubimendi's that's not 100% concrete, even though despite what you might hear in the reports, but there are still.
I mean, we've bought Mikel Merino as well, who's ended up having to play as a number 9, and thank God that he's there, able to play as a number 9. But a lot of the squaddies are talking about creativity, and I think they're right. Yeah,
because we don't have any dynamism. We don't. I mean, if say, for example, you took Rice out of our midfield completely, that's why I love Eze. He's a fantastic player. He's a type of player that we don't really have at Arsenal. But in regards to Thomas Partey, yeah, he has them games, man. Like he's an experienced player. He's a good player, top player, but he just has sometimes lazy-itis, man. The passing sometimes, I'm like, what is he doing? Just the concentration levels really concern me sometimes. But he's obviously not available for the big game next week, which is his own fault because just stupidity, man. Honestly, I'm still angry about that. Declan Rice had a guy at the time, but in regards to Declan Rice, it's an interesting one, man. Because when we bought him, obviously we thought he's bringing him as a 6, but it's kind of in between. Some people think he's good as an 8. Some people think he's good as a 6. I think he's got attributes for both. I think they said that he's got. Did I see that 9 goal contributions, like for club and country, in the last 12 games? It is, so he's doing something right. And if someone had chucked that stat at me, sort of when we signed him, I never would have believed it. He had his best, obviously, return last season in terms of goals and assists. So it'd be interesting to see what more so Mikel does with him depend on who recruit within the central areas or the midfield areas, because, like I said, I thought he'd better as I thought we bought him as a 6, but I do think he does add goals to his game, which he's good at. And you know what? He's the best striker of football at the club, most definitely. And that's not just because of the 2 free kick goals against Madrid, but he is. But it'd be interesting to see where we go, because like you said, we bought Mikel Moreno. I don't really see him as an 8, to be honest, but it's a conundrum that will be very interesting to see how it develops, not just with the remainder of this season, but what we're going to do in the summer and how it's going to work within the dynamics of the team.
Muted. It's so funny because not everyone can give a definitive answer when you ask them about Arsenal's midfield. And when you have Timber and Saliba, and okay, Big Gabby's injured now, but we had him for a large part of the season. You've got the emergence of Miles Lewis-Skelly. You've got a forward line with no designated, number 9 since Havertz has been injured. You still have Trossard and Martinelli on the left. Saka went out. You could have Waneri on the right. Mikel didn't play him when Odegaard was injured, lost Odegaard. But the problem, when you see Saka coming back into the team and the way he has come back into the team, before he got the knock at the weekend, by the way, that's dynamism. And Arsenal don't have enough of that. They don't have enough X-factor players. And if you want to win leagues, you've got to have X-factor players. The 5 up front for Liverpool, I would take 2 of those in my team. That midfield, he's got them cooking. There's they complement each other really, really well. And I don't care what anyone says. Yes, we've had injuries, okay? But 13 draws in the Premier League and 9 of them now. Last time Albert and I spoke was 8. 9 of them now from winning positions. That is a problem. That's a problem. Right. Let's do a kind of a, I realize we're talking for half hour and I do want to get to the spotlight. Stay with us here, you guys, because this part will be positive, but also I want you guys to kind of chime in and jump in because we're going to do a little bit of a focus on Bukayo Saka. And I'm sorry, but you saw that game. That guy is the engine of this team. It is insane, right? So, JJ, let's do a turnkey analysis of Crystal Palace. And also, how did the gaffer do? And if you have any fears going into PSG after that performance, or are we just going to compartmentalize it into Premier League Arsenal and we know Champions League Arsenal are a different beast?
I think it's got to be the latter, hasn't it? I would rather try and go with the positive than accentuate the negative and be needlessly provocative to fill up airtime on your show, Sophie. So I will stick with the happy route if I can. Sorry if that upsets the people in the chat. Normally, though, they tell me I'm too negative and that I need to go touch grass and eat and have a cornetto or something and smile a bit more. So if I can be positive today and maybe get critiqued for being overly positive, I'll take that. That's a nice medium and change for me. So yeah, we are 2 completely different teams in these competitions, and people have tried to downplay this Champions League campaign from Arsenal. I won't have it, Sophie. We've played the Europa League winners. We've played arguably the team that might win Serie A this season and Inter Milan. Okay, I'll give Girona to people. They're not one of the better sides, although they had a great season last season.
We lost to Inter Milan, didn't we? 1-0.
Yes, exactly. But we've played the Ukrainian champions. I know for what that's worth, but still they're the champions of that division. We've played the Dutch ones. We've played the Portuguese ones. And we've played arguably the greatest team that's ever, existed in this competition and spanked them 5-1. Now, people can go, they're the worst Real Madrid side they've ever seen, but when Liverpool beat them 2-0, they were brilliant. So why is it that all of a sudden Arsenal beat them, now they're rubbish? That's the narrative that's the yarn that always gets spun that I won't stand for and I won't have. But I think you've got to completely just chalk this off. You've got 6 days to prepare. Drill it into them how important this is, like Albert said earlier. Maybe don't bring up that there's going to be an inquest if we don't win it.
No,
maybe don't put that much pressure on them. But still, at the same point, I'm with you.
Albert wants to restart the show.
No, he's right. He's right. He's got a great point. He's got a great point. Because, like you said, the position that we're in now, to not get to the final, at least to me, would be incredibly underwhelming because the momentum and everything is with us. But yeah, hopefully get one of these two players back in Moreno and White. I know White probably won't start, but he's an important player to have on the bench because he can make a difference. Moreno at the moment's arguably one of our most productive players, either as he plays as a striker, Sophie, but he's been amazing when he's dropped into the 8 the last few weeks as well. I think people are overlooking that. I think people are overlooking how productive he's been, not just from when he plays as centre forward, but also when he plays as an 8. And I'll freely admit, when he first come in, I was very, very critical of this guy. However, he didn't have a pre-season with us. Then when he first comes in, he gets injured right away. So he's had to take time to settle in. And now that he's settling in, I think he's looking like a bit of a player, in my opinion, Moreno. So I hope this carries on. I hope that he carries on the momentum that he's on. And going into what you said with PSG, just, for me, don't concede. If we can win that without letting a goal in, we can go to Paris. Now, I'm not saying go to Paris and play defensive because for me, Arteta still over 2 legs isn't that tactically astute or clever to try and S-house his way through a second leg game. Same as what we did against Real Madrid. Try and win it as best we can at home, but then go over there. Don't take your foot off and go for the juggler and try and actually get the result there as well because we're capable of doing it. Like you said, Bukayo Saka, he'll be coming in, he'll be starting. And just like in the game that we played against them at home, okay, we had Havertz and what have you, but we had no Odegaard on that day.
Mm-hmm.
That we had players missing and still beat them. So we just need to do what we need to do, like we have done in this competition all the way through, and play to our best ability, which I think we're going to do. I think we're going to win against PSG. That's just me.
Well, I when I was going to plan for tonight's show, because I didn't want to talk about Crystal Palace Arsenal too much because, we have been such different teams, right? And at first it was going to be called the Arsenal Positive Vibe Show because on Monday's show, I told everybody that from here on in, we're going to put all of our positive vibes into the Champions League basket. We're going to support the team. And Mikel Merino was a player that I wanted to talk about. Didn't play tonight. Hope he's going to be okay for that game. And Graham Hunter did tell us, be patient. He will have special moments for you. So let's get stuck into, the other part of the show that I really want to talk about. And that is the swashbuckling adventures of Bukayo Saka. And I think we've realized more than ever this season how important Bukayo is to the Arsenal. And we need a super fit, super ready Bukayo to go into this matchup with PSG. He has been nothing short of incredible. He's carried Arsenal for so long, put the team on his shoulders, made us fall in love with players again, and really was, people talk about Edu and Arsenal changing the culture of Arsenal reinventing Arsenal to Arsenal 2.0. I believe that started when Bukayo Saka came into the team, where this young Highlander went from a young boy to an absolute star man. And if you look at this blue kit, it wasn't too long ago we were wearing this blue kit. He looks like a boy here. And right now he's looking like a man, a leader of men. And when he went down, we realized the importance of Bukayo Saka and what he has come to mean to the Arsenal. And when you also look at players like Miles Lewis-Skelly coming through now and Waneri coming through right now, and maybe the best Highland Academy that we've ever seen, and how he's helping lead them and what an inspiration he's become to them, especially with Miles Lewis-Skelly, who's secured his place in the team. When you're looking at him leading, international captains from other countries, players that have played in the World Cup, players who represent, their country too, and playing with someone like Declan Rice as well. The relationship that he had with Kai Havertz, the fact that Odegaard has been a lost puppy without Saka, the left and right lethal machine of Martinelli and Saka, that was another thing that I thought reignited the love of fans with Arsenal Football Club. And then you go on to his marketability and what he means. You know, it's a North London derby and you've got Saka's head and everyone else, even more senior players below him, you know, Dale's drawing of him. The marketability factor of Saka is huge, absolutely huge. And so I wanted to talk about him just a little bit. And these stats might be wrong and you guys can correct me. But his record is 190 appearances, including tonight, 108 wins, 38 draws, 43 losses, and 53 goals and 45 assists. Albert, I'm going to start with you on Bukayo, the importance of him, what he means to the team. And without him, I don't think we've got a chance to win trophies right now.
I think him being out for the length of time he was, if Arsenal fans in their little conversations or WhatsApp group chats or podcasting or doing whatever, and they talk about the most important players, I think that conversation's done. It's quite clearly it's him for the amount of time he was out. And we missed him. I know people talk about certain players in the team and combination play not being there. Yeah, that's because Saka's not there. This is a guy who, you look at his form in the Premier League, for example, against the big six, whoever you want to chuck in or out of that equation. He scored against all of them. Penalties, open play goals, rifle it in the bottom corner, top corner. His ability is second to none. I think of the goal against Liverpool at home, completely leaves Andy Robertson out of nowhere, leaves him. Goal, brilliant finish. And it's quite, I think the measure really for me is, and I've said this before actually on my channel, I've never known a footballer, forget, you can talk about me being an Arsenal fan, but I've never known a footballer, definitely within this current guise of sort of YouTube content and channel podcasting, where the narrative changes so much, more than any other player. Got to play in the Champions League. Debuts in the Champions League, scores. Look at the first leg in the against Bayern Munich last season in the quarterfinal. What a goal he scores. It shouldn't have taken, Sophie, for him to score in Santiago Bernabeu for certain ex-professional footballers to now suddenly realise and wake up, oh my God, actually, you know what? I think he is world-class. I called it a couple of years ago. Some people might have thought I was going crazy, but domestically and internationally, Gareth Southgate saw the faith in him to put him in a semi-final in the Euros in his home country. And he assisted, by the way. And I think he bottled him not playing him in the final, starting him personally. That's just my opinion. He absolutely gave Theo Hernandez a cooking, a roasting in that World Cup quarterfinal in Qatar. He was immense that day, Saka. I know we're going to talk about England losing, but if you actually watch his performance that day, it was on a different level, including Declan Rice as well, even though he wasn't our player.
And Albert, there's a reason why I put this picture up, and you preempted what I was going to say. Do you remember the comparisons not only to Cole Palmer, but Anthony Gordon, Madueke? They were actually, it started feeling like mocking him or just trying to get the headlines and the clickbait. And then when things weren't going right, those hellacious back page headlines with a picture of Saka, who single-handedly has brought joy back to England fans and opposing fans also when they're supporting England. And I think he's one of the most likable guys in football right now. Paul Buckle was on the show on Monday, Albert, and he was talking about how he loves that Saka's a role model for his boy, who's in football, playing football.
Brilliant.
And he's a Crystal Palace supporter, but he loves Saka.
Yeah, I mean, even there's so many things I could talk about. I don't understand James is funded, but even when one of the England camps, when they asked the question about who would you like to be someone to be related in your family, I can't remember the exact context, but the way the likes of other players spoke, Luke Shaw loves him, the way Jack Grealish speaks about him, Callum Wilson, Ramsdale at the time when he was with us. But I mean, Sophie, I sent you the clip, and I think this was from September.
Oh, let's play that. Thank you for reminding me. You know what? I wanted to start off with that. See, this is why, it's like a little fog I've got. But let's play this clip, everyone. It's really insightful. Let's play it. And this is footballers and top players who've won a lot of trophies. Let's go.
You coached him. You've been there on a. What was the thing with Saka that you go, right? This is what Arsenal is missing, and this is what is world class about him.
His decision making, like I'd not seen something like that. I knew obviously the quality at such a young age to make every decision right.
Yeah.
All the time, wherever he is, like if he receives it on the halfway line, he's got to step back to the fullback. That's the right decision. If he cuts inside and he's got to cross, like we did some sessions, and obviously I'm not at that level. I had to join in, so I thought he got the ball. I'm going to show him down the line, and he was trying to cut in, so I showed him down the line. He didn't cut in, and the next time he got it, I showed him down the line. He went down the line and scored. I was like, oh, you can just do that then. Whatever
I'm offering you,
you'll take, and you'll deliver on that. That is so underrated. Like, to never get anything wrong and not get bored with being offered the simple thing and doing the simple thing. That's what most players don't do, is they get bored, man. They get like, I've got to cross again. Now I want to put a little turn in there this time. And I'll cross it and we'll score.
Also, he don't get bored of not getting the ball for periods. I know they use that side of the pitch more often than not, but if he's not getting the ball, you don't see him wandering.
No,
He's disciplined, he holds his position.
Reliable.
And so for Ben White, the right back, or Timber, whoever it is, knowing where players are going to be on a regular basis all the time is a comfort for a lot of other players who might not be as good on the ball as well.
Amazing.
I thought that was
Sophie.
bang on.
He's 23. He's had 43 England caps, 12 goals, 8 assists. And one thing I'm going to finish up with, because I know James has probably got a lot to say about him, but when I see, he's the only player I see everybody's better than him, or they make comparisons. Amad Diallo, Madueke, Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, the milkman, the delivery man. Everyone, Saka consistent. England played 2 years in a row, people. Look at in the last European Championship. The guy played multiple positions and he still scored the goal to get England back into it against Switzerland. He's phenomenal, and I'm sorry, people seem to have this definition of what world class is. He's displayed that domestically and internationally for more than 3-4 years. James, the last 3 seasons, I think, including this season, double figures in each column. Assists, goals. What more does he need to do?
Yeah,
Win trophies.
I thought
that's it.
There you go.
The only thing they bash him with, the only thing they can bash him with is he hasn't won anything.
That's the only thing they can. Yeah.
And I mean,
he's not won the big ones.
Yeah. I mean, that's all they can bash him with. But Sophie, we've had this discussion on here. How many shows this season? What's the one constant? He's the player that everyone's being compared to. It's always this one. This one's Saka. This one's better than Saka. Saka never changes. It's never, you know what, Madueke's better than Foden. It's always Madueke's better than Saka. I'm like, yeah, because he's the benchmark. He's the one you want to put him against. And let's get it right. Before he got his injury, the trajectory that this guy was on, Mo Salah's going to break records this season. Well, do you know what? If this guy didn't get injured, he wouldn't have scored as many goals. But the way he was going with assists, he wouldn't be far off breaking that De Bruyne and Thierry Henry record as well. Let's just get that right in the air. And it might have been from corners, it might have been from some of his free kicks. But the level that he was going to in terms of his assists before he got his injury when we played Crystal Palace away was sensational. He was on the verges of having a record-breaking season as well. And you know what? He is our best. He's arguably our best player. And we're not going to win anything unless he's involved. Mm-hmm. That's it. That's, as much as that's a really short and sweet answer to what you probably wanted to be more detailed from me. That is it for me. Is that unless he produces something special, which he will do. I mean, let's look at Real Madrid away. Okay. He goes for a Panenka penalty against the best goalkeeper in the world. First of all, I admire the stones of a man to try and do that. But second of all, it was completely stupid. And me and his of Arsenal fans are going, what the hell are you doing, Saka? Calling him pretty much nearly every name under the sun, but in muted breath, maybe not out loud or as publicly. And then he goes, don't worry about that. Most other people would freeze at that. Like how he did against West Ham when he missed that penalty in the season when we were going for one of the titles. Yeah. And then for the rest of that game, it was like, oh my God, what have I done? Like with England, I've done it again. Well, now that he's a bit older and he backs himself, he goes, no, do you know what? Second half, I'm going to dink the best goalkeeper in the world. And as I'm dinking him, I'm going to smile. The picture of him smiling as the ball's being chipped over him is one of the best pictures that this club. That is an iconic moment. Like just as much as Thierry Henry with his arms out running at the Bernabeu celebrating, him smiling as that ball's going over Courtois, who is the best keeper in the world from his head, is iconic. Now, if that doesn't lead to us winning something, it might take away slightly from the moment. But let's get it right. It is an unbelievable goal. And again, the brass to attempt that after you've had something that could have completely curtailed your game, that is why this guy is the pinnacle for us. And other fans will consistently say stuff because they're jealous that we have him. That's 100%. All it is. Yeah. They're jealous because they haven't got a player like that. They haven't got one. You know, for me, okay, I'm not his biggest fan because for me, I just think that he's productive. I don't actually think he's an amazing footballer. But Mo Salah is the benchmark. Well, that guy's right underneath him as the second best for me. And you can take my Arsenal bias or whatever away. In that position, in our league, he's the second best player in it.
So
I can't argue with that.
I think he's got 15 goal contributions, 16 Champions League. It's just a phenomenal level. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
It really is. And hey, Jags, good to see you in chat. At East to you. That should be on a t-shirt. Which part should be on a t-shirt? Tell us because we'll make it. We like making t-shirts. Yeah, and you look at his age as well. And I think here's the thing that I wanted to ask you, and James said it because, you know, they're talking about a new contract and he loves Arsenal. He knows he's the king here and he could be the king here for the next 10 years. He goes somewhere else, he'll be a prince among maybe other princes and other kings. Whereas at Arsenal, he is Arsenal. Like I said, it's not just about the football. It's not just about the personality. It's not about the man that he is. It's also marketability, right? I was looking too because he outshone Bellingham. Rice outshone Bellingham in both of those legs. And Bellingham's got 33 million followers on Instagram. And Saka, I think, is close to, is it 4? Maybe? But the point is that tells you, right, that when you play for Real Madrid, you get a lot of attention. When you play for Real Madrid, I'm not saying that anyone would move there for more social media followers. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. It's 7, right? Yeah. 7? Okay.
Yeah.
And at some point, Arsenal need to, what I think, make sure of is, because Real Madrid are going to win trophies every year, right? It's unusual if they don't, whether it's La Liga, the Cups, the Champions League. And what Arsenal need to make sure they do now in this Andrea Berta era, and I think Andrea Berta is going to be great for the club, is you've got to match the talent. You can't go and buy players that aren't going to elevate the team. So this is where I'm coming. When I watched, another brain perimenopausal fog. Is it Wharton, the kid from Palace.
Good player.
Okay, he's going to be a superstar, that player. He is going to be a superstar. You could just see it when he touches the ball, when he plays. When he wasn't in that Crystal Palace team, they were flunking big time. He comes back from injury and there's a resurgence for Crystal Palace. You need game-changing players.
Sophie, if Zubimendi ends up at Real Madrid instead, because Xabi Alonso's potentially going there as manager, I know that might cost us 80 million quid, but that's who I would go and buy. If we're not getting Zubimendi, if we're going to get, if Partey's going, and plus with Jorginho going, if we need a holding midfielder, I will go to Crystal Palace. Take that for Adam Wharton now, because he's that, to me, he's that good.
James, you know what? I'm not saying he's worth 100 million because you got UK tax, right? You got player tax in in the market, but he is a Declan Rice type signing. It's worth the money. I know every transfer is a risk, but I think some players are like right under our nose in the league with league experience. I truly believe that kid is going to be a superstar. I don't know if it was when I was speaking to Graham Hunter, we were talking that Real Madrid are looking at this kid. They're scouting him.
That's true.
So here's my thing with you guys with Saka, right? Saka is an X-factor player. He's a world-class player, right? Let's do this. I think Jurrien Timber is a world-class player. I think that he is one of the best signings the club has made in a long time.
I love him.
I think Saliba is a very good defender and brilliant and maybe generational. But I think the issue with Saliba, and I know I'm going to get killed for this. Go on. I don't care. The number one criteria for me to be a world-class player is consistency. You have to have it every single week. There's a reason Messi and Ronaldo have ruled football for as long as they did. Those mofos were consistent every single week. The amount of goals they've scored, the assists, the way they played the game. The Manchester United team under Fergie, consistency. They dominated because of the demands every single week. Arsene Wenger's really good Arsenal teams, consistency every week. George Graham's Arsenal, consistency every week. Saliba's lost his consistency this season. And I don't know if that's because he's got other thoughts in his head. But for me, Big Gabby was much better this season than Saliba, right? And then you've got Miles Lewis-Skelly. All season, that kid's been consistent. Couple of faux pas, granted. But that kid has got world-class potential written all over him. And then you go to the midfield. Do the same, the forward line. You need consistency. And you also need at least, if you've got Saka, you need another 3 world-class players to come in to elevate this Arsenal. This is why I'm like, when people talk about Nico Williams, okay, he's a good player. He shone in Spain. He had Yamal. He's in a really good Spanish team full of superstar players and stuff like that. He's been rubbish this season, inconsistent, right? So... there. Inconsistency.
Saliba's a tough
one.
Go on, James. Sorry, no, go on, Albert. Go on, because I did that little monologue about Saka about 10 minutes ago. So go on.
James, you love your monologue. James, you love your monologue. I don't get your monologues often enough, but Sophie made a point earlier, and hopefully I get this right. So when that season when Arsenal were, was it Rob Holding season? I can't remember now. We at the time. And that's why I've always kind of been a bit of a big advocate buying within the league. I think at the time, Mikel had signed about, I think it might have been 10, 11 Premier League-based players at the time, I think. And that was the same amount of players Wenger had bought in the Premier League over 10 years. So, yes, there's gems out there in the leagues outside of the Premier League. Their football does exist outside the Premier League. But however, in terms of there is quality within the league. And that's one thing that I've always battened, that there are players in the league that will make Arsenal better. I know there's been talk about various different positions in the squad, but James, many people will know my thoughts about Victor Gyökeres from probably December 2023. And people talk about stylistically and Arteta being rigid and this and that. Gyökeres will score goals. I think that comes more down to how tactically flexible Mikel is going to be or can be, 5-6 years into his managerial career or coaching career, whatever way you want to call it. But in regards to, like you're saying, Sophie, yeah, I think buying within the league is something that shouldn't be underestimated. And I'll have to look at that, see how many players he's bought any time since he's been at Arsenal, Mikel. But it's no coincidence that the likes of Trossard and go on, Trophy. Sorry.
I know. I was going to say. I know it's more expensive, but Trossard's a great example, Albert. Trossard is a perfect, example. It probably it was the best January signing that transfer window, and he elevated the team. He helped the team. He was a really good player. You need Trossards among Sakas, right? You need Martinelli's among Sakas. That's what makes a team great. But if you look at all of the great teams, they have at least 3 world-class players. And, our defense has been really good. But our creative, and I love Odegaard. I'm a huge fan. When I met the man in Cyprus, when Norway were playing Cyprus in a Euro qualifier, I was like, man, I can see why Mikel has him as captain. I don't want to hear all this stuff. He was like man-balling everybody, and Haaland was looking at him like a father figure, right? I don't like all that talk because you don't have to bellow or be like chest pumpy to be a captain and a leader. You don't. But the lack of creativity this season has undone us in the Premier League. And here's what we do at Arsenal. We tend to rely on one player for several things. Once they're good at something, it's like, Odegaard can create the chances. That season when we had 4 goal scorers with 15 goals, right? That's the season to emulate. That's the season to build on. So we've become so reliant on Odegaard to be the guy that
that's a stylistic change as well, though, Sophie. From the very start of this season, I believe, and again, I'm probably going to cop it now, but who cares? We've probably all copped it over the space of an hour or so, all 3 of us. Going to be a nice one in the comments later. Going to have to get some aloe vera for my burns, I reckon. But there's been games this season, and do you know what? Everyone that's in this chat, if you don't think that this is correct, then you're lying to yourself anyway. There's been games there where Arteta has instilled a belief in that don't go for we're too scared to win, so let's not lose. And when you're standing there saying we're challenging on all fronts over my dead body, etc., you've got to go for it. You have got to go for it. And for me, I don't think we fully, compared to the last 2 title run-ins, we haven't gone for it. We've been way more conservative, way more. The word that they like to use is control. Oh, it's controlled. It's controlled. I'm like, well, if it's controlled that, we're throwing games away. What was it, 16 times or something from winning positions we've been in? And now we've
13 draws, 9
now.
Yeah. 9 out of the last 6 out of the last 9 league games have been draws. And you saying there as well about creativity problems from Odegaard. It's a creativity problem from the whole team, Sophie, because let's get it right. We've got 4 league games of the season, left. We've got no player in double digits for goals. This will be the first time in nearly 100 years that potentially we will have a player for Arsenal in the top flight division not reach double digit for goals. That's embarrassing. And I'll tell you what, people can come at me as well when I keep saying this is a terrible league because they go, oh yeah, but you support Arsenal, you don't want to credit Liverpool. The fact that we're still second and we've got all these mitigating circumstances shows to you how crap this league is. It is a bloody miracle that we are still second in this league. It is amazing.
I think Saka's the only one, but that's in all comps. So he's got double figures. That's the only one.
And Havertz as well in all. He's James is talking about Premier League and stuff.
The league's your bread and butter, isn't it? And I'm saying, 4 games. We've played 34 games in the Premier League this season, and we've got no one on more than double digits in goals. The Arsenal Football Club. That's embarrassing. That is embarrassing. And you still got people tonight with Trossard scoring. Oh, do we really need a striker? Yeah, we fucking do, mate. Yeah, we really do. We really, really do. And then you've got others going, oh, what you're saying about Odegaard is 2 assists in 2 games. The one against Ipswich, Stephen Hawkins gets out in a power surge. It ricocheted. He ran into the ball and it landed at Trossard. Let's get it right. How that got given as his assist is a joke. It's a joke. So I'll admit tonight the free kick was perfect, But come on, if you're glazing Odegaard for that assist against Ipswich, come on, behave yourself. Come on, we're better than this. We're better than this.
It's that typical one-upmanship, isn't it? It's the kind of but look, that player scored, or do you want Mikel out now? It's like, come on, what are we doing? Let's grow up here. Come on, let's be serious.
Yeah, I just don't see how. By the way, James, some absolute banging one-liners in there, which I probably shouldn't be laughing at, but whatever. What's interesting is Mikel has sold, I think, and again, don't come at me. I'm not attacking Mikel. I'm just saying he's sold well to a certain portion of Arsenal fans because of the way we play. And if you listen to him carefully in certain presses, that we don't need a striker, right? But of course, then the spin on that is, well, he wanted Ollie Watkins. He wanted a striker in January. He wanted, maybe because things started falling apart, he wanted a striker, but he likes to play the Pep way. I don't think that's undeniable.
Yeah.
But you can't preach that you're a goal by committee team where none of them have got to see. This is the thing. Some of these people that get to go in these press conferences, and I don't want to dig out people that are friends of the show, Sophie, so I won't. But some of them, I'm like, you really do softball these questions, because the way he comes out sometimes and says things, I would be going to him, well, hang on. How can you preach a goal by committee team when none of them have got 10 goals in the league? You can't defend that.
Well, there's a reason, because number one, they wouldn't get in a presser again. And you've got to be, But the thing is a lot of the times, having been, squaddies know, they're probably bored of me saying, being a communications and PR person my entire career, what I notice about the presser a lot is they almost give Mikel the answer when they ask the question. And those questions are the weakest of all, because they're not brave, right? And real journalism in some portions, and I'm not saying this for everybody, and there are a lot of journalists out there that I respect. I've been in pressers with him, and I try to ask the direct question that I want. You just have to articulate it in a certain way where it doesn't come across as aggressive. But I mean, I remember when I was in the presser with Emery and Xhaka was the captain and it was on the US tour. And I point blank asked him, where is your captain? Where's Koscielny? Why is he not here? What is going on? Now, maybe I don't have a lot to risk because I'm not in the press room every week, so I can do that. But it just seems like, I mean, this is a whole other show if we get into like the journalistic side and questions and pressers, Albert.
Sophie, did you get thrown out, or was it all right?
No, he answered the question, and I asked Xhaka as well. I think Magic Mike has it on video somewhere. And it was the same press conference where Xhaka gave Magic Mike the dirtiest look where he thought he was going to die, literally on the spot.
Don't mess around with them Albanian guys, man.
That's a whole. Oh yeah, and then Magic Mike's phone rang, and I think that's why Xhaka was really like, "Who the f are you? And why is your phone?" But I'm not one to talk. My phone rang once during a David Beckham press conference, and he literally. I have the video. I'll put it up on the thing. We're having a little bit of fun now. We've gone over the hour mark. Who gives a shit? So it's MLS Cup final. He's last in LA. And we're in the presser and there's phones everywhere, right? But what I do is I always put a little sticky on my phone. So I know I'll put a pink and a yellow, right? And I put it in front of him. And the phone rang during David Beckham's press conference. And he's so clever, right? He goes, oh, the phone's ringing. And I saw him twiddling it and it was my phone. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't answer it. It's probably going to be my dad. Sophie! Where are you? What are you doing? And he turned the phone around. He goes, shall I answer? And then everyone goes, yes. And he goes, oh, sorry, I can't. It's not a Samsung. He's so clever, right? Mr. And it went, and that was actually, I didn't confess until a few years later that was actually my phone. Anyway.
Thank God you didn't have a Samsung.
Yeah. if I did. He would have had my and the thing is, it would probably would have worked out because my dad's a Man United fan. So
was it actually Dad that called?
Yeah, my dad called.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that makes it even better then. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's
and
lovely.
I was like, thank God he didn't answer. I go, Dad, you have no idea what just happened. He goes, what? In his Greek accent.
He was probably gutted. He probably would, like you said, if he Man United, he would have wanted to speak to Beckham. Probably.
Yeah. And it's funny because at the unveiling of his statue at LA Galaxy all those years later, because we used to go back and forth because his granddad was a Spurs fan, Beckham. I said to him, I go, it was my phone that rang in that press conference, and he's not one to like. He's like, what? And he remembered because it was one of those kind of moments that you don't forget where. Anyway, it was funny. We used to have good banter. I digress. I just like telling stories sometimes. But journalism, Albert, I mean, we could get onto a whole other thing, but that's another show. But yeah, I like what James is saying is true. It's like, it's very easy sometimes. When we had Rebecca Lowe on, she said that the worst time to interview a manager is right after the game. Like, those are really tough. If people think that's easy, it's not. It really isn't, especially if you go to interview someone like Ange Postecoglou, who's the most miserable Greek person I've ever met. Greek people have joy. I don't know who took Ange's joy away. Someone took
I think you do
the lamb
know.
out of his kebab.
I think you do know who's done this to Ange, Sophie.
Someone took the lamb out of his kebab.
I think everybody knows who's ruined Ange's life. It's very, very obvious.
Oh, God. Albert, where are we going here?
No, you're right about. I watched that show when you had Rebecca Lowe, and it's funny when I bumped into Gail Davis. We had some interesting conversations about. I said, yeah. I said to Gail Davis from Sky Report. Yeah. I said, I don't envy you. I've seen you interview certain managers after games. I'm like, and to be fair, you know what? She does ask some really on the money questions. I've seen her in the past, and I mean, she can't really help it the way they might answer it. Sometimes in quite an abrasive style, so it's not a job I'd want to do personally. So
it's really not. Oh, thanks, Mark. He's confirming that Magic's phone rang. Let's see. As a psychologist, I like it when we have psychologists in the room. As a psychologist, asking direct questions is to establish if they would dodge the question and analyze body language. Interesting. That's a whole other show as well. So Arsenal Perspective wants a summary. Sure. A summary.
This feels like the end of what is it, Jerry Springer when he does the
let me tell you. That's funny. Maybe I can't say it, but Jerry Springer, we were just talking about him yesterday.
He was. Yes, he was. And Maury Povich. But you know what's interesting? I know we talk about players and like the recruitment side of it come the summer, but the striker ones, it's interesting because I see Arsenal fans talk about strikers, right? And I actually probably see more people have more reason to discount certain strikers coming to the club as opposed to actually, you know what? They might just be the ones that we actually really, really need. So it is really, and I find it even more odd because the striker market's not massive. So, for example, Victor Gyökeres, I know people talk about the league that he's playing in and, but when he was in England, he played in the Sky Bet Championship. You have to start somewhere. When
Ollie Watkins and Jamie Vardy played non-league football. Raya played non-league football.
Yeah. And the wider point is, yes, we got to see the likes of Van Nistelrooy come over here and Fernando Torres and Luis Suarez, but there was never a guarantee they was going to come over here and rip it up. So you have to give sometimes strikers that grace. But they go, but look what happened to Darwin Núñez when he went to Liverpool. That's one striker. So we shouldn't potentially go and buy a forward who's got the goal scoring assist and record of someone like Gyökeres. I think that's insane to have reservations about someone. I find that very, very strange. I don't know, man. It's a strange.
I don't think there've been a lot of hits this season with transfers. I really don't.
People go on about strikers from the Portuguese league, right? let's get it. Let's get it out right. I know we're talking, so sorry. Get Sophie, if you've had enough, let me know and I'll stop. But
No, I've already gone after Albert knows how I feel. I like shows under 1 hour, but now we've gone beyond the threshold, so we're just gonna keep going.
Raul Jimenez, before he smashed heads into David Luiz, he come from the Portuguese league. He was doing well. That Evan Nilsson at Bournemouth, he used to play for Porto. He's not too bad of a striker. He's not a bad little player. So I'm like, just to dismiss Gyökeres because of what he's done because he's done it in the Portuguese league. People forget. Look what he's done in the Champions League. You know, Gabriel and Saliba had a torrid time against. Okay, we beat them 5-1, but they weren't comfortable with him.
Yeah, if you watch that game, you're right. If you actually watch that game, he actually weren't too bad. He was actually quite decent.
Yeah, all I know is that it's been a tough year in the Premier League, and Archangel said it a little while ago. I think he said we've been built for the Champions League this season. Our style of play, I think he's right, and we've talked about it on previous shows. The Premier League, I think we miss that. The Arsenal Perspective wrote it, I think, earlier. The chaos. We were the chaos. In the improbable season, we were the chaos. In the following season, we were the chaos. And we were the entertainers too. We should have won the league last year. We really should have. I mean, that one hurts more than anything, I think, because it was there for the taking. And that was the year we choked. We didn't see the year before because we didn't know better. We hadn't been there before as a team. But last season, there are going to be, I'm sure, nightmares still for certain players. Fulham, West Ham, Aston Villa. We should have won the league last year. And
the Champions League suits us, Sophie, because people want to play. Where it's like underneath the World Cup, where it's like the premier competition in this sport, people hear that music and you feel that you've got a prestige and it's like, I've got to show out I'm in the Champions League. You've got teams in the Premier League, like I said earlier, they don't care. They're like, I will play the most nullifying, boring football that I can get. But if I hit you on the counter and win 1-0, I'm the man. And that's Arsenal, we've seen it. It's very, very easy to say. It's very cliche, I know. But we're better against teams that want to play. When we have to go against these low blocks and everything else, we struggle. We struggle. Teams that want to come at us, look how easily we dispatch of them. Man City this season, 5-1, that 5-1 game, because they didn't have any other way to go. So they just played into our hands and we spanked them. We're better against stuff like that.
Yeah, which is why I dread facing Inter Milan. We couldn't break them down. We had how many chances we have in that game, and then they had one chance and bosh. I mean, they had more than one chance, but still, this is where we struggled. Mark is right as well. We keep talking about how Mikel hasn't cracked the low block code. Couldn't do it against Newcastle in the cup and the league.
Still got to play him.
Yeah. So anyway, we're going to call it quits now because basically this is becoming like an episode of Seinfeld. It's a show about nothing. I started off with Crystal Palace, went on to Bukayo Saka, not even sure I did the spotlight any justice, then started talking about press conferences, and now we're just talking about nothing, which is really actually the kind of show I love. By the way, I'm going to introduce the show. I'm going to let the squaddies know before we go. I'm going to introduce the show over the summer when everyone's going to be bored out of their minds with transfers, and it is going to be called the Totally Not Football Show. And basically, we're not allowed to talk football on this show. All right. It's going to be about music, experiences, life, drunk stories, funny stories, music. Did I say music? Films, TV shows. It's just going to be an organic, like you're at the pub talking, but you can't talk about football. And anyone who mentions football is going to have to put £1 donation. And let's see how much money we can raise over the summer when someone mentions football. But I've always wanted to just do a show where you just talk about stuff. It's so funny, and people are funny, and there's a lot of funny.
put the
Funny
money
stuff.
towards Mike and Kevin's foundation as well. So
exactly. That's what we're going to do.
The Gooners
Yeah,
versus Cancer and Kevin. Yeah, that'd be great.
absolutely.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, that's cool.
In the meantime, because summer is not here, we're still in spring. Gosh, I just want the Premier League season to be over with. Here's where to follow the guys. Let everyone know what you got coming up, kids.
James, go ahead.
Yeah, at LL Cool James 91. James Johnstone Football. If you enjoyed what I said today, some of you might have. I did have a quick little Miranda gaze at the chat. So there was a few people that were putting their thumbs up to me, or they might have wanted to put them the other way, but they weren't looking what they were.
You've actually got you're not the target today. It seems like Albert is the one that has really riled up the troops.
I'll take it, Sophie. I'll take it. Like I said, the less
God,
heat I have on me, the
God.
better.
If I riled up the troops, flipping hell, YouTube is dead, man. Jesus.
But yeah, shout out everybody in the chat. Thanks for watching. And no football this weekend in terms of Premier League, but Dagenham and Redbridge have got Altrincham at home. Got to win or they're getting relegated.
Oh.
Don't think it's going to happen, but hopefully the Daggers could do it. But I think they are up shit creek without a proverbial paddle. So
wow. Well, I'm really focused league-wise. My focus is on Sheffield United right now and those playoffs. Yeah, got to get that rolling.
If they get promoted, he's going straight in my fantasy team next season.
Yeah. So, okay. Good.
He's one of the first I'm buying, and I won't sell him either. I'll keep him the whole season.
Yeah, I love that. I'll absolutely love that. Albert, where can the kids find you? What are you doing?
Yes. What am I doing, Sophie? I've got no idea, to be honest with you. No. Thanks for having me on. Of course. Apologies for being my 2.5 minutes late.
I'm going to rescind your card. I've decided to rescind your card because I feel like you were under unnecessary attack during the show. And I'm going to rescind Lone Stars as well, even though he was a little bit of a prick today. But I'm going to do it because you know why? Yeah. Why not? It's the positive vibes show, right? So
welcome to the wonderful world of YouTube and the chat box and the comment section. That's what I'll definitely say. But no, thanks for having me on. The championship season's almost done now, so I think Millwall are at home again. So I'll have to try and find some car parking spaces. There is a slight possibility they could make the playoffs, man. So I think some people might be on tenterhooks. But no, I don't know what I've got coming up. So if you go, like James said, we've got no game this weekend. You're
going to do another thing for the Arsenal women for the second leg against Lyon.
Of course. Yeah. We still got a puncher's chance, man. It's not over. It's not over yet.
Yeah, I believe. There's a reason why, Newman, your cards never get rescinded, because it just gives me joy just to keep the banter going. There's a certain fella I know that would just be like, don't you let him off the hook.
Yeah, and amidst all this positivity, we're still not going to give you a coin. We're still not giving you a coin either.
I don't know who's commenting on Facebook and blocked again, but I don't block anyone. My name's not Tom Cancel. Oh, my friend. Right, that's it. I'm going. I'm hungry. And I hope you guys have a great evening. Enjoy the 1 hour, 22-minute show about absolutely nothing. Tell your friends and, share the show. And I really want you to do this for me, squaddies, okay? Probably not the best announcement to make after around 22 minutes because whoever's still tuned in on replay, God bless you. But we are back on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and the link is in the description. And I please want you to go and leave a review and also subscribe, because it will really help the channel. And I've got an announcement to make next week about all of this and why. So stay tuned, because Highbury Squad is moving up and we've got some exciting things happening. All right, kids. Until then, don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. Squaddies, I love you. At ease. And I'll see you for a show. Well, just soon. Keep stay tuned. Honestly, I really have to get better at being consistent on timing, but it's just the way it is. Anyway, I'm just going to stop there.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
comments just crack me up. You guys are so funny. James Johnstone has disgraced himself. Brilliant stuff.